Hello, I'm Peter Kenworthy.
And I'm Lindsay Mills.
And this is Almost Live, a weekly show designed to help you find out who's who and what's what in Telluride and Mountain Village.
And we're coming out of hibernation to bring you a special episode specifically on Mountainfilm, with art, film, and ideas inspiring the community throughout Memorial Day weekend.
And to help us lead the charge, we're welcoming two women from Mountainfilm who do lead the charge there, Sage Martin, the executive director, and Suzanne Barraza, the festival director.
We'll be taking a look back at some interviews of Mountainfilm past and taking a look into our archives, looking at some old iconic films from Mountainfilm brought to you by Telluride Locals.
For now, though, let's join David Chisonis for Undercover at Between the Covers, and then we're going to look at a promo that we did here at Telluride TV for Mountainfilm's 40th anniversary last year.
Greetings from Between the Covers bookstore, Telluride's fiercely independent bookshop since 1974. And it is again time for Mountainfilm, and we are so excited. Between the Covers has been facilitating Mountainfilm's reading frenzy. We think maybe for 14 years. We've kind of lost count. And it really is a frenzy. And that's because it's 25 plus authors every year in one room for 2 hours. It's open to the public, free. You don't need a Mountainfilm pass to attend. And it was a really good idea for us to start those 14 some years ago because I realized as I was working both at Mountainfilm and at Between the Covers, bouncing back and forth, that a lot of the filmmakers, the subjects of the films, the mountaineers, the environmentalists, the activists, the politicians were also authors. So instead of trying to schedule 25 or so separate individual signings here at the shop, we came up with the Reading Frenzy. Book signings in bulk, and it's worked ever since. We have moved over the years with Mountainfilm volunteers over a ton of books to the venue. And this year, I have to say, we have a new venue. We're back in town at the AHA School for 2019. We will take over the entire depot. It's on Sunday from 2 to 4, Sunday of Mountainfilm. And I do want to say a big thanks to the Hotel Madeline that did host us for 5 years up in the Mountain Village. We do recommend that you bring your own bag, of course. It's a bag-free town. And as always, I said it's free. It's a great way to meet the minds of Mountainfilm. And I just want to say that from 2 to 3, the authors will be at their tables signing. And then from 3 to 4, they'll kind of mingle in the room and their books will be signed on the tables. But quite a few of them need to get moving on to their next venue for their next presentations. So if you have a favorite you want to have a one-on-one conversation with, show up at 2. That's just my personal advice. In the last few years, I have to say we've clicked in over 500 people coming through this event. And that just warms our hearts to know that there are that many book lovers and people that want to engage with the guests of Mountainfilm. And of course, do remember that an inscribed book is a very thoughtful gift, especially with graduations and Father's Day coming up. So, 2019, the guest director for Mountainfilm is an author. It's Cheryl Strayed. She is a repeat attender at Mountainfilm. She's been a guest, an author at the Frenzy, a judge. So it just kind of made sense, and we're psyched to have an author there alongside with the crew at Mountainfilm programming. Having put on this literary fest and this beast and this feast every year, I can honestly say this is the most diverse group of authors and I think guests that Mountainfilm has ever had. The theme is equity this year. So let's remember that diversity breeds tolerance, and kudos for Mountainfilm for putting it out there, full frontal, in 2019. There are 27 authors at this year's Reading Frenzy. I'm just going to highlight a few. You can catch up on everyone, all their bios, on the Mountainfilm website, and at the store we'll be highlighting them all here in one bay, all the books. So come on by and see who will be at the Frenzy. First one up, mountaineering guest of honor, Sir Chris Bonington. He's a British mountaineer, a writer, and a photographer. He started climbing as a teenager in the UK in 1951. His first ascent of the south face of Annapurna is documented in one of his books, and he'll be in conversation with other climbers throughout the weekend. We're thrilled to have him here In 1996, he did receive knighthood for services to mountaineering, hence we call him Sir Chris. The second guest is Arthur C. Brooks, and I bring him up because Mountainfilm has programmed someone from what we would consider maybe the other side of the aisle. He is a social scientist, a musician, and a writer, and he is also the former president of the American Enterprise Institute, a think tank in D.C. He's written 11 books on topics like about the role of government, economic opportunities, and happiness, and he's going to be the subject of a feature film called The Pursuit this year at Mountainfilm. His book is called Love Your Enemies. So there you go. Let's have a really big, wide-open conversation. We're really excited to meet him. The third person I'm going to highlight is Robin DiAngelo. She is the author of White Fragility, right here, which was the Mountainfilm Town Read. The library purchased quite a few books from us, 48, and gave them out for free during off-season so that there could be a really great conversation with her and this book. She will have a signing actually after her coffee talk because she can't stay for the frenzy. So on Saturday, if you want to come to that coffee talk and discuss white fragility, which is a term that she's coined after writing an article about it, and then she turned it into a book. The subtitle is Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Race. So you see, we've got quite a diverse palette of authors, of topics, and we hope you come join us on Sunday from 2 to 4 at the AHA School. And we can't wait to see you in line for films and also at the Frenzy. Until then, keep reading.
Mountainfilm in many ways has given me everything in my whole life. My inspiration, my stoke, my ambition for art, my ambition to want to use it to affect change in the world.
It's just been such a powerful force for our community, and I think for the global community, that it's one of the most positive things in my life. It's my favorite festival for Telluride because it is unique and it is hopeful.
The festival itself is very important because it creates conversation, and then secondarily, it ignites action. So with conversation and action, we can truly not only recognize the problems we perceive in the world, but we can work towards solving them. And that is the basis of this film festival.
This is about documentaries, this is about stuff that's happening all around the world. It's about people who are climbers, people who are individualists, people who really are mountain people. It's really been the iconic kind of festival for a mountain community like Telluride.
Mountainfilm has always managed to pull together moving stories about things I had no clue about. That'll keep me coming every year. Like all film festivals, you can see films on your phone or on your computer screen, but when you come here and see it around family and friends, and then you get to talk with the filmmakers or the subjects or the producers live and ask questions, that's something that doesn't happen anywhere else.
It's a lot of really wonderful, inspiring people together all in the same place, and I find it's a place to recharge, get new inspiration for new projects and ideas, and maybe get a little reignition of energy for things you're currently working on.
Yeah, anything is possible. Mountainfilm shows you that there's a huge tribe of people that are very capable and incredibly talented at what they do, and cross-pollinating and being inspired and then creating all together is what we're here to do.
Okay, welcome back everyone. I am here with the Mountainfilm Chiefs, I'm going to say. Sage Martin, Executive Director, and Suzanne Barraza, Festival Director. Thank you guys very much for coming in. Appreciate it very much.
We had plenty of time.
Thanks for having us.
I'm sure you had nothing to do, right?
Nothing going on.
All the
Festivals
time
in
in
a
the
week.
world.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about lots of things to do with Mountainfilm, past, present, and future. And I'm going to start with you, Sage, if that's okay.
Yes.
This is, I believe, your 5th festival as Executive Director.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's going good, well,
It's going
great.
really well.
It's going really well?
Yeah, I think for me, it improves every year and gets better and better as time goes on, and I get a better handle on things, and I'm able to relax and enjoy the festival. And we have a really clear strategic plan that guides the organization, so our goals are really clear and we know exactly what we're working towards, and that really helps for cohesiveness of the organization.
Wow, a strategic plan.
Yeah, I know.
Mountainfilm has
It's really
a strategic
official.
plan that you actually pull out of the drawer and look
Yep,
at and
we
work
do.
with. Well,
Does this fit? No.
I'm going to pull my hat out of the drawer because I was gifted this hat by you. Thank you
Yes,
very
of
much. And I
course.
think it's appropriate that I put it on for the rest of this segment of the show. So you got a strategic plan, and it's going well. Your board is together. They're good. They're
Yep.
supportive.
Absolutely.
They're helping lead the way.
Yeah.
And so, you've got a new, what's it called? Sponsor, your
Presenting sponsor.
Presenting sponsor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Your new presenting sponsor is the North Face.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
Because they've been in and around the festival forever, but
Yeah.
they've never been at this level before. So
Yeah.
very cool.
They've sponsored the festival a long time ago, and a lot of their athletes attend every year. And last year, our guest director was Conrad Anker, and he was kind enough to make the connection. And so they've come in as our presenting sponsor this year, and we're really excited to have them all here. A nice big crew from the North Face team is attending.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I noticed when I was going through the program, there are a number of Mountain Film commitment grants that are represented in the lineup of films this year, and I wanted to talk to you about that program. How's it doing?
Yeah, it's doing really well. That's part of our strategic plan.
And can you explain what that program is? Because I know what it is, but a lot of people don't.
We go through a process after the festival where we open up a grant, basically a Mountain Film grant process, and we take in applications and choose, I think it's more about how many this past year?
Probably around 10.
It was around
ultimately.
10 commitment grant, and we spend $30,000. It's split up between those filmmakers, and they're in different stages. Some are earlier, and some are almost at completion. And a lot of those films come back to the festival when they're completed, and it's really exciting. And we have quite a few commitment grantees coming back to the festival this year. And it's part of our strategic plan is to support filmmakers more, and Suzanne is really working hard to advance that. And this year we have a new pitch forum where we have storytellers coming, filmmakers coming to pitch their stories to our brands who are involved with the festival.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of a test year, and then it'll be more formalized next year.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So never a dull moment in the world of Mountain Film, always something new.
Yes.
Suzanne, I'm going to turn my attention to you right now. And you are a filmmaker, as Sage mentioned.
Yep.
You've made some films that have been really popular and locally based, either in terms of production or location. We had Bag It, and then Uranium Drive-In. And now you're currently working on Massacre Creek, or is that finished?
Massacre River.
Massacre River.
Yep. It can be a creek, but it's more of a river.
And this time of year, it's a river.
Yeah. That just premiered 2 weekends ago at Hot Docs in Canada.
All right.
Yeah.
And is it showing here?
It's going to have a sneak peek
Oh, okay.
on Saturday night.
All right. I hope I didn't give anything away.
That's all right. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So this is your second year as festival director for Mountain Film,
Yep.
but you've been involved for just about ever.
I'm guessing probably about 25 years.
In all kinds of different.
I don't want to say how old I am and how long I've been here, but probably about 25 years.
Right, in all kinds of different capacities. And interestingly enough, back in the day when I first came on as executive director, I talked to you about some more involvement with festival direction, and it took me getting out of there for you to come in, so that's a good thing.
It wasn't because of you. You were never any kind of stumbling block.
So tell me a little bit, if you don't mind, about this year's festival. I'd like to talk about some specific films, but before we go there, I want to talk about local involvement, because it's always cool when we have Telluride locals that are actually represented in the festival where they have their work screening. And some people we consider locals who aren't really locals anymore, like Ben Knight and Travis Rummel.
Yeah, we'll always call them locals.
They're always locals, and they've got, I think, 2 films in the festival this year.
They do,
which is very cool.
Yep.
Max Walker Silverman, son of Rick Silverman, who was a former festival director and kind of one of the motive forces behind the diversification and programming that we see today in the festival. So Max is now like a 23-year-old or something like that, 24-year-old, and he made a film.
That's right.
Which is very exciting.
And it's good.
Is it?
It's our only, I think it's our only narrative film. It's a short, but it really fits, and it's great because there are actual some local actors in it as well, and you'll see local places. It's really fun.
Nice. George Knowles
Yep.
has a film. And Mallory Dimmitt, who used to be on the board, I know she's no longer on the board, I don't think, but she's involved with one of your films, right? A conservation
Last
film.
Green Thread.
Yeah. And then, very notably, we have a big local known as The Valley Floor.
Right.
That's in the festival.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that film?
Yeah, the film The Valley
Right.
is showing. We're showing it once in the park so that it can just be free for everyone. And then it's also showing up at High Camp. And we're doing a discussion about the Valley
On Sunday.
up in Mountain Village Court. And part of it is just because for people who haven't lived in Telluride for a long time, they don't even know what went down in order for the Valley to be part of open space. Like it was a really big deal.
Huge deal.
And it was super contentious, and this sort of really gives a great background on how it came to be and what happened. Watching the film, I was like, oh yeah, the 90% deal, I forgot about that. So it really is a great primer for people who haven't been here very long, and a really good reminder about how the tenacity of Telluride and the people here really made it happen, which is pretty incredible.
Very incredible. And before we talk about some specific films, I want to pay you a tribute, and I hope you don't blush. But I was over in the office the other day, and I was talking to someone. No, actually, it was someone who was giving me a ride home, so you might guess who that is. And I said, how's Suzanne doing, and how's it working with Suzanne? And she had just the nicest things to say about how collaborative you are, how positive you are, what a joy it is to work with you. So
That's nice to hear.
It was really nice for me to hear, too, because I've never really worked with you.
Right.
And then I went home and said to my wife, gosh, this person, who will remain nameless, but whom you know, said the nicest things about Suzanne and what a great pleasure she is to work with. And Michelle said, absolutely.
Well, I got to work with Michelle for Baggett. She was the
Yes,
writer.
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it really made me feel good to hear that. And Sage, I have worked with.
Thank
Like
you.
we held hands for a while when she
did.
was first coming in, and
Yeah.
I know all about her style, and really appreciate the professionalism that you've brought in, and
Thank you.
and just the collaboration as well. It's really good. It's it's so important in an organization like that
Yeah.
represents those kinds of values that you're able to walk the talk. So
We're having a lot of fun together.
good
Yeah.
job.
Well, Mountain Film is that, like you say, it's that kind of organization. I don't think it would work otherwise. Like it is the values and the foundation of what Mountain Film
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I want to talk about a couple of specific films, and some of these are
They're
ones.
all my babies, so be
I know,
careful.
well, and I'm
Love them
I'm not asking you. See, this takes the weight off you because I'm specifically
Oh, there
asking.
you go. Okay,
I'm
that's
not
okay. I
saying
can't
you.
say my favorites.
Hey, yeah, you can't
Sophie's
say.
choice.
We're not talking about your favorites, and we're
Okay.
not asking you to identify specific films because I've
Okay.
already done the hard work.
All right, great.
So some of these are films that I've watched because
Okay.
I wrote some synopses. And the first of those, which really moved me, was Moonlight Sonata. And it was interesting because I was watching it, and it's a feature-length film.
Right.
And I'd been watching for a while, and I was sort of getting to the point of saying, well, okay, it's interesting, but is it really good? And then all of a sudden,
Payoff is pretty dang good.
I
Huh?
just got, all of a sudden, at a certain point in the film, and it's not right away by any means, but it's not that far in, but it was getting toward a place where when you're screening films, you're like, okay, it was just at that moment. And it just completely absorbed and
Squeezed your
involved me.
heart.
Oh, squeezed my heart.
Yeah.
Absolutely squeezed my heart.
Yeah.
So that's one that people should really be looking forward to.
Yeah,
Do you have anything you
absolutely.
want to say about Moonlight Sonata?
You
know what it reminded me of a little bit was Life Animated.
Yeah,
Because it's a
it does have a
documentary
little bit of that.
filmmaker
Yep.
pointing the camera at her
Her own family.
family, and just so deep
Yeah.
and rich and touching.
Well, she's coming, the director, and she's obviously the mother of the main character, which you'll have to see the film to truly appreciate.
Mother of the main character and daughter of a main character, right? Isn't it her
Oh yeah, her dad
father
is
and her
also,
son, right?
yeah, her son and her
Yep.
father are both deaf,
Right.
and it's a really touching story.
I loved it. I loved
Yep.
it. And the other one that I watched with a lot of interest was Anbessa, because it was different. It was
Yeah.
different than a I don't know if there is such a thing as a typical mountain film, but in fact there definitely isn't. However, just in terms of the world of documentaries, it was different because it was a little bit more like cinema verite, and the filmmaker, and I think it's Mo Scarpelli.
Who's had films at the festival,
Right, before,
also
yep.
won the commitment grant
Right.
with the film, for the
Right,
film,
yeah. She's following a little boy in Ethiopia who's growing up outside of this huge new condominium project, and he and his mom, she's a single mom, and they've been displaced, and it's just following him day to day, and it was really fascinating to me. What a different world.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, the boy in that film, it's just, Mo made a brilliant move in following him because it's one of those stories where you're watching it and you're just like, well, not much is happening, but you can't stop watching it. Like it really pulls
Yeah,
you in, and
yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
and I love how it so subtly tells a story about that kind of expansion and displacement in without hitting you over the head with it. Like, it's really subtle.
Yeah, very subtle.
And she does it through
Yeah.
news stories, little,
Yeah.
you overhear the radio
Yeah.
saying a few things.
It's
really
a film that you
great
really
film.
feel.
Yeah.
You really feel it.
Really
She does
good.
such a good job of bringing you in and absorbing you.
Yeah.
So the other one that I've seen that I wanted to touch on was Diving Deep, which is the story of Mike DeGree,
Right.
who was a videographer and an oceanographer, an environmentalist, a conservationist, a bigger-than-life character, who, and I don't want to give away the story, but it's kind of his life, and the film's made by his wife,
Right.
and really, really affected me quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's some of the most beautiful, deep underwater footage you'll ever see. He was,
He was a pioneer.
pioneer
Yeah.
for that, yeah. And it's the kind of film where I didn't think I would like it as much as I ended up liking it. Like, it's super personal, and probably because his wife made the film, and it just it's definitely worth
Yeah,
seeing.
I liked it.
Film.
I liked it a lot. It's,
Really
it's
great.
definitely on Peter's recommendation list.
There you go.
And there was a moment in the film where he turned into an activist
that's
that
right.
was very specific
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
really
after the
moving.
oil
To do
Yeah.
with the Gulf, yeah, and that
Yeah,
whole
and that transitioned.
that whole part of the story where they're talking about those dispersants and the damage they did because they made it disappear, and when it disappears, it's out of
Right.
people's mind.
Yeah.
They think the problem's solved, and it's just
Exactly.
Worse.
intensified the problem, made it
Yeah.
much worse because now you can't collect it because
Yeah.
you don't know where it is. It's all over the place. Anyway.
Yeah, really great film.
I want to get my list because I haven't seen these other films, but wanted you to talk to me a little
Yeah.
bit about them because they seem, from the synopses that I've read, so cool. One is 17 Blocks, and again,
Yeah.
it's more in the vein of cinema verite.
Yep.
Where and tell us a little bit about that film.
Oh, I love that film. It is set in Washington, D.C., and it follows a family for, I think, 20 years, isn't it, Sarah, something like that? And they have home movies.
So they're the filmmakers.
They are
They're the videographers.
filmmakers. And then Davey Rothbart, who contributes to This American Life, really great filmmaker. He's known them for all this time.
And this family, this is not this family is sort of living in a rough area. They're
Yeah.
kind of down low on the socioeconomic ladder.
Correct.
They're a family with some serious challenges.
Right.
Right.
And you're really getting a super intimate portrayal of them and their lives that you just wouldn't see otherwise. And Davey met them years ago playing basketball, and he just gave the 8-year-old son a camera, like, here, have fun. And this is the
cool.
footage. Like,
cool.
a majority of the film is the family's footage, and boy, does it work.
Wow.
Like, it is
And one thing
great.
that it came to mind when I was reading the synopsis was this idea, the Mountainfilm theme of celebrating indomitable spirit. I'm imagining there's some indomitable spirit running through this story.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
just how they kind of, the power of the family is stronger than, I don't want to give away what
Right,
happens,
right.
but about greater than everything that
Yeah.
they sort of have to endure.
Right.
Yeah.
Another one is Changing the Game, and this one I think resonates with your symposium theme of equity. There's a lot of gender equity that seems to be represented in the lineup this year. Lots of equity all across the boards, but this seems to talk more about gender equity.
Yeah, it's a fabulous film that as soon as I saw it, we were just calling right away, like, can we get this film? And yeah, we're one of the very first festivals to show it. It follows 3 transgender high school athletes. And just ask some of the difficult questions. Here they are trying to just play their sport. And, some pretty up in arms parents
No doubt.
saying you shouldn't
Right,
be competing
right.
and it's not fair, and
Yeah.
looking at both sides of the issue. And we
Right.
have
You girls shouldn't be competing in a boys' sport because you're beating the boys, and that's not.
exactly. Yeah. And we actually have the 3 main subjects coming,
Oh,
which
cool.
is kind of
Very
a
cool.
really, really
Amazing.
special
Nice. Yeah,
screening that they're
indeed.
going to all be here.
Nice.
Yep.
There's another one, Gay Chorus Deep South. Again, gender equity issues.
Yeah.
First of all, your mind kind of cringes a little bit when you just see those words together. gay chorus, Deep South. Like,
Yeah.
But my understanding in reading the synopsis was that they discovered a world in the Deep South that wasn't quite what they'd anticipated. It wasn't so bad, shall we say?
Yeah.
In terms of the prejudice, in terms of just the discrimination and the mindsets.
Yeah, the film just won the audience award at Tribeca, so it's definitely a feel-good film, which got to have some of those for sure. And it's the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir, and they do a tour of the Deep South to kind of help change heart and minds kind of thing. And they are expecting a lot more prejudice than what they find, which is wonderful.
That's good.
We like to
We
see
like
that.
And then just quickly, there's another one which is more on the environmental side, Into the Canyon by our, we should have probably mentioned Pete McBride as a local.
Right.
I mean, he's from Aspen, but,
Yeah,
he's really a Telluride boy in my opinion.
yeah.
So
he
tell
does-
us about that one. He's like transecting the canyon or
He's
something?
attempting a through hike of the Grand
Right.
Canyon, and they end up having to break it into pieces. But it's a wild story
Yeah.
that they go through with running out of water, running out of food. It's
And
just
probably
a
very
real
beautiful as well, right?
film.
Yeah.
gorgeous film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cheryl Strayed is this year's guest director. And what does that mean? What does it mean to be a guest director? What do they do? How do they help you?
Yeah, it's kind of a newer program. It's our second year
Right.
doing it.
Conrad
and-
last year,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
on the whole side of adventure and mountaineering.
Yeah.
And now Cheryl Strayed, who's an adventurer in her own right and has
Yeah.
been to Mountain Film before and has been a
Yeah.
guest presenter and speaker and author here.
Yeah.
And she's involved in one of the films.
Yes,
Right.
and that's been great because last year Conrad had a film that he was in that came to the festival, and Cheryl has a film this year, so it ties
Yeah.
in nicely. But they also help a lot with programming and talk about guests, and there's a lot of programming meetings where some of her connections and people she knows that would be a
Right.
great fit because
Yeah.
she's been here with her family several years
Yeah.
now, so she has a sense of what it's about and was inviting some of her great friends. So that's really
great.
exciting.
I think that's fantastic. A real coup. And what made you think of her? And was she like right on? Yeah, I'll do that. I'd be happy to. or-
Yeah, I think part of it was that she has been here so many years and she understands the festival. She loves the festival. She has a lot of capital and, she knows a lot of people. And there's going to be a really great program on Saturday night. Cheryl Strayed with a very special guest. It's
At the
not
Palm?
to be missed. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool, nice,
Yep.
good.
Can't-
I won't
can't
ask.
announce it,
anything.
not
I won't
ask.
ask. I won't try to entice it out
We'll
of
announce
you.
it at the festival in Little Murmurs.
Nice,
You get
good.
to hear who it is.
And so before we close, which we will in a moment here, this doesn't go on forever as much as it could, right? It could. It could really go on. But I want to talk about the symposium. We mentioned that the theme is equity, very, very timely subject matter, of course. And do you want to just mention a few of the presenters or talk a little bit about the symposium? It's on Friday
Yep.
up at the
High camp.
High Camp, right?
Yeah, starts at 9.
Yeah, we kind of settled on equity because, as you say, it is timely in all parts of
Right,
of
all
society.
parts of life, right.
And the tie-in even to the outdoor industry, like it has really been more of
Right.
a white male.
Sure.
Outdoors is kind of associated with
Right.
males and
White male domain.
yes, I'm going to bag that peak. So we felt like that had that direct tie-in to Mountain Film, but it is across so many different issues with social justice, with gender and race, and it's a broad topic, and we're really excited about it. 'cause
Is the
it's really-
format, has the format changed for the symposium? What is the
It's a little
format?
shorter.
Little shorter, okay.
Yeah, because people were kind of
Right,
drifting off
yeah.
in the afternoon.
I understand.
Yep, so we're doing 4 speakers and a little short panel, 4 more speakers a panel, and then we're finished.
Okay, I
So
think
like
that works.
12:30.
That makes sense.
9 to 12:30.
That makes it a little bit more manageable for a lot of people. There's a lot of things to do.
Yeah,
And a lot of people are coming into town, they haven't been here for a while, they've never been here, and they want to go out and
Get
hike.
excited.
And
yeah. And the films begin that morning now, so to take a little bit of pressure.
one thing, you mentioned this idea of the white male-dominated world of mountaineering, and there's Bonington.
Oh, Sir Chris
film.
Bonington.
Yes.
Sir Chris
Yeah,
Bonington,
he's coming as a
and that's
guest.
another one that's one that I wrote the synopsis for, and I really moved me, that film.
Yeah.
He did so many things, but he was so human, and you get to
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
about him and his life, and there are all these wonderful accomplishments and all this glory, and there was a lot of tragedy in his
Yes,
life,
right.
and he has a certain equanimity
Yeah.
through it all. And what I love, if you see this film, you'll love it too, I'm sure. There's a part where he's doing, it's a first ascent of some kind in the Himalaya, and he's with this team, and they're not getting along well at all. In fact, it was a fist fight at some point, and then they all have to get into this little Hillman car, which is not a big car, and drive back to England from the Himalaya together. Or maybe they only went to France. And then there's another instance where he gets on the back of a motorcycle with a guy. They're going on their motorcycle from northern England down to the Alps to do a climb, and that's how they're getting there.
On a little
Yeah,
motorcycle.
on a motorcycle.
No, like cushy flights. And,
No, they
you know,
take
big
boats. They take boats
sponsors.
down to South America
Yeah.
to climb, and different world,
I got
but
to
the same
meet
in some ways.
Sir Chris Bonington at a film festival in Poland, and as soon as I met him, I was a little intimidated, but he is the greatest
Yeah.
guy. He's
What a gent.
really humble
Yeah,
and
that's
and
what I
just
loved.
a really, really
Yeah,
lovely person.
yeah,
So we're
yeah.
really excited to have him
Nice.
and his wife Loretto.
Good. Can't wait
Yeah.
to see it all.
Yep.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
all
much,
the good
Peter.
work that you've been doing all year that's about to culminate in
We're
the
so
41st
excited.
festival.
It's like,
It's
Can't
good.
wait for people to,
Yeah.
you know, it's like
Yeah.
you do all this prep.
You're
and
ready.
ready for that, to hit
Yeah.
that first domino
Yeah.
and let it
Yeah,
go and just see, you know, hope people love it.
Well, I look forward to seeing you out and about during the festival with big smiles,
Right on.
and congrats.
Thank you so much, Peter.
And now we're going to stay with Mountainfilm. We're going to look back at a couple of Minds of Mountainfilm interviews. Dean Potter, the late, great Dean Potter. Alex HONNOLD, climber extraordinaire. And what was the other one? I mentioned it to you guys.
Solely a chairlift?
No, Morgan Spurlock.
yeah.
Oh, right.
Morgan Spurlock. And then after the three Minds of Mountainfilm interviews, we're going to see a couple of old Mountainfilm classic shorts by locals, Chairlift Soliloquist by T.M. Habersham, and Diary of a Flagger by my very good friend Barry Smith. So stay tuned.
My name's Dean Potter, and this is Whisper. We're premiering our film, world premiere of When Dogs Fly. It's about Whisper, myself, and my girlfriend Jen in the Swiss Alps, alpine climbing and wingsuit flying together. And Whisper flies on my back in the movie. I'm a rock climber and a tightrope artist, and I fly my body. And the reason for that isn't just to do those things like the physical acts. It's to enter heightened states through those activities. And I find when I risk my life or when there's a lot on the line, that I have heightened concentration, heightened emotions, heightened senses, and that's the reason I'm doing all of these things. 5% of wingsuiters died last year. It's pretty obvious. Take your time. So all these younger kids and teenagers and people in their early 20s saying, "Oh, I want to learn fast," and "Oh, do I have to go skydiving to base jump?" Or I want to do it now, and I'm just like, take your time. That's the biggest thing, is take your time, and gradual progress is better than getting good too quickly and then getting injured. The now what thing, I think it's to have a balanced life and to be able to do the things I love, but also to be able to have a family and friends around and in a community. And you know, one would be empty without the other. So it's definitely not like to go bigger and better and stuff like that, or to be even like the more top dog or anything. I'm 42 years old. I've kind of hopefully gotten past a lot of those things, and see now that really the important things are just love and family, and of course going into the mountains and seeking in the mountains is a big part of living for me. So I think having all of those things is the what next. Telluride is one of the most iconic mountain towns in the country. It's one of the funnest towns to be in, or maybe the funnest town right now, especially during Mountainfilm.
Professional climber, and I'm here with the film Sufferfest, I guess, and also a little short called Sendero Luminoso. I don't know exactly what my mission is. I mean, what inspires me, I guess, is just rock climbing. You know, big rocks, being outdoors, you know, pushing myself, trying harder things, I don't know. I pretty much just travel and climb all the time, so it's, yeah. I don't know, I mean, I guess I'm just inspired by big, cool climbs. I don't know if anything really threatens my mission. Like, you know, I mean, I climb where I can, when I can. I travel to new areas if conditions are bad. I don't know. I wouldn't call myself very mission-based. You know, I love climbing and I climb as much as I can. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I always have like a long list of climbing goals, and then I sort of like pick them off as opportunity allows, as travel allows, as fitness allows. You know, the problem is that I sort of fantasize about climbs like at all different ends of the spectrum. So like really hard short routes, and then really big routes like in Patagonia, huge link-ups, things like that. And those are like such completely opposite things that it's hard to do both at the same time. So like, for me, I think the hardest thing is to try to decide what's the most important to me, and then try to get in shape for that. Well, there's a reason I've been here 4 times. Yeah, I love Telluride. I love the town. It's always like a nice scene. It's good to see all my friends here. It's like it's a pretty nice party. I love watching this outdoor sports movies from other sports, like seeing you know, somebody skateboarding down like huge mountains, or like dirt biking down crazy things, or I watched a short about snow biking where I was like, oh, I didn't even know you could do that. Like, it seems pretty cool.
My name's Morgan Spurlock, and this is my first time in Telluride, my first time to Mountainfilm, which I'm ecstatic to be here. And I've got two projects that are here. One is we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Super Size Me, which is pretty amazing. Can't believe it's been 10 years, so we're showing that. And I have a new project that we're sneak previewing here. It's still a work in progress, and it's a TV series we're doing for Showtime called 7 Deadly Sins, which we're going to do a sneak tonight and tomorrow night. I mean, God forbid we start thinking. You know, I'm a real believer that, you know, we live in a world where we are fed so much misinformation that the more you can get people to start doing critical thinking, to where they don't accept one source. You find multiple places to get information, and you come up with your own idea. You come up with your own interpretation of what you think is right or wrong around a topic, or what should be done. I mean, critical thinking is an important thing that is being lost in our world today, and that's why long-form documentaries are so important. You know, investigative journalism on television is going the way of the dodo. You know, the shows like Frontline, 60 Minutes, Dateline, you know, shows like that are few and far between. You know, so longer-form television shows, long-form feature-length documentaries are becoming almost like the last bastion of a lot of this this type of investigative journalism, and that's why they're more valuable and more important than ever. The biggest thing is it takes a tremendous amount of courage to say, I'm going to be myself. And whether you're somebody who wants to be a filmmaker, who I can't tell you the countless people who want to make movies and they say, what's the secret? What should I do? And I say, you know, the biggest thing is you shouldn't quit. You should be true to yourself. You shouldn't try and emulate somebody else's voice. I mean, that's one. But then there's just people out there who feel like they're stuck in a cycle of life where they are just running on a treadmill and they're not doing anything that's fulfilling to them. And I think to have the courage to stop and say, I'm going to do what's best for me, or what's right for me, or what makes me feel good, is a hard thing to do. And the minute you do that, though, your life changes. And it changes in a way where more doors open and more possibilities become available to you than you ever thought possible. This is my first time here. I just saw a man fly over town in a squirrel suit, which was a pretty great way to like come to Telluride and get to witness. It's amazing. He's like flying over. He's like, ah! And we're all on the street yelling at him, going, yeah! But it is phenomenal. I've been all over Colorado, and this is the one place I've always wanted to come and I've never been able to. So to get to be here is really special, and it's beautiful, and it feels so small and cozy, and it's just yeah. So far it's great.
great day of skiing. I think this will be my 12th run. I wonder how much time that is riding the chairlift. Boy, it's warm out here. Maybe I should lose a layer. It's probably about 2 hours on the chairlift today. Wow, that's a lot of time. What else would I be doing right now? Spending time with my girl, possibly drinking? Nah, I don't really like drinking during the day. Unless there's a good game on. Maybe I should start working harder towards my future. Yeah, right. What future? Nice air. So if I spend 2 hours a day on the chairlift and I ski 100 days a year, that's about 200 hours a season sitting on the chairlift. That's actually a lot of time. That's something like 8 days straight, 24 hours a day. That's more hours than I've worked all winter. I wish work was as much fun as riding on the chairlift. Maybe I should become a lift. They look like they're having fun. I think I might have tweaked my knee on that last run. I've heard this particular lift is the most dangerous in the state. I don't believe it. Look at that. This chair precariously pierced into the cable looks pretty high tech to me. Must have something to do with physics. I can sleep better at night knowing my $1,300 ski pass is being spent on such innovative technology. I wonder if that's Oprah's new house or another penis extension. $20, these two girls riding with me are from Texas.
I'm from Texas.
I'm from Houston, Texas.
Man, do I love these skis. I love these skis. It took me 2 years to savor these skis, and I even got a great deal. I wonder what girls think about on the chairlift. I think my boyfriend likes his skis better than me. These pants are starting to make my butt look big. They're probably thinking about the same things I am. I wonder if these pants make my butt look big. So I've been a ski bum for 13 seasons. It's a pretty long time. I had hair for the first 7 of those. Maybe all this skiing has contributed to my balding, the altitude, lots of sun, gravity. Maybe it's because I have to wear a hat all the time. 8 days times 13 seasons is... Boy, that's pretty tough math, 8 times 13. Is it me, or does snowboarding on snow seem more appealing than riding man-made metal rails? I can't wait to win Powerball someday so I can take all of my buddies heli skiing in Alaska. I wonder if I'd pay for absolutely everything or just the chopper. If I was sitting on $132 million, I'd want to pay for everything. Lots of beer, new skis for everyone, maybe a couple high-end call girls per guy. That'd be sweet. I couldn't tell anyone, though. I'd take the cash lump sum. That one time I got 3 out of 6 numbers. Boy, that was close. 8 times 3 is 24, leave the 4, carry the 2, 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10, 104. Why is snow white? Why is the sky blue? There's Dogger and Petey skiing Can't Make 'Em. Imagine that. Why is the sun yellow? I'm kind of hungry. What should I eat for dinner tonight? Some pasta, beans and rice. Frozen pizza sounds good. Maybe I'll just drink beer. I love beer. The views around here still blow me away after all these years. A little snow sure would be nice. I love skiing powder. I love powder skiing. That one powder day in '96, my 3rd run down the stairs was top 10 ever. Or was that '99? I've spent 104 straight days, 24 hours a day, riding a chairlift. If I consolidated all of my lift riding time together, that's almost a third of the year strictly spent on a chairlift. That's a pretty cool thought. Maybe if I play my cards right, I'll get to sit on the chairlift for an entire year. Brr. It's a little nippy out here. I could use another layer. It sure is a beautiful day. I'm pretty lucky to be alive. I wonder if the President of the United States skis. Who is the President of the United States? Who cares who the President of the United States?
"9 a.m., Wednesday, August 14th. A new day provides an opportunity to offer a hand, a consistent, repetitive, slowly descending hand. My job is to make a difference." never slow down, and they never make eye contact. If it weren't for the fact that they change lanes, I would think they didn't see me at all. Perhaps they are all experiencing the phenomenon which Carl Jung called cryptomnesia, where something is seen and forgotten, and then later reproduced without consciousness of its source. For all I know, everyone slows down when they get around the corner. Jung understood. He would have made a good flagger, probably one of the best. He would have known what to do when the icy hand of boredom tightens its grip. Hypothesis. Despite the skillful hand gestures, the conscious mind of the commuter does not register the existence of the flagger holding the sign that says slow. Therefore, the sign could read anything, and traffic should behave exactly the same. Hypothesis confirmed. I am flagger, you flaggy. You must slow down when you see me. Your speed determined by my hand. Your will is now at my command. The limit's 20, not 23. Avert your eyes, but still you'll see that I am flagger, you flaggy. Lately, all my poems seem to start with, I am flagger, and even though they all explore a similar theme, I really like this one. Lunchtime. Today, I brought pudding. Based on my success in proving the lack of motorist response to the revised slow sign, I spent my lunch break preparing for the continued experimentation in this vein. Still, no eye contact, no acknowledgement of any kind. They stop, but they don't appear to know why. This reaction, or more specifically, this lack of reaction, confirms my hypothesis. I may now safely conclude that I exist for the drivers only on a subconscious level. exist only in another subconscious is not necessarily a horrible fate. As my day wears on, I find the idea of subconscious existence to be somewhat refreshing. In fact, I can see this affording me some real freedom. It means no longer being confined to one spot. It means finally being able to deviate from the standardized hand gestures, which quite frankly have become less than challenging. This expansiveness has come at a good time for me, especially after last week's failed experiments with telekinesis. I am quasi-visible, or maybe semi-visible, I'm not sure yet. Today, I have been set free from the constraints of conventional highway safety. I am a phantom, an apparition, maintaining traffic flow from deep within the unsuspecting cortex of the driver's brain. I stand before you, the future of highway safety. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with deep humility that I accept this Nobel Prize for outstanding advancements in traffic supervision. If I may say a few... I am Flagger. You, Flaggee. I'm begging now, on bended knee. Please, won't someone notice me? I am Flagger. You, Flaggee.
Hey everyone, we're back.
And we're going to have some more Minds of Mountain Film interviews and some more classic mountain film short films by locals. But before we do, I'd like Lindsay to give a shout out to some of our local generous supporters.
As you know, Telluride TV is a public access channel that depends on public support. We would like to thank some of our most generous sponsors, including the towns of Mountain Village and the town of Telluride through CASE, and the Telluride Ski and Golf Company.
So, Lindsay, I think that, everybody gets pretty excited about Mountain Film coming back to town because, first of all, it's the first festival of the season.
It's the first.
People have had a nice long break over
Very long.
so they're rested, they're relaxed, they're ready for a paycheck again. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is, I think that Mountain Film really attracts a cool crowd of people, people that we really identify, people that are real, people that have their feet on the ground, people that are out there doing things, and people who wanted to be inspired to do things in their own lives. So I think that's partly why, when I talk to a lot of locals, they say Mountain Film is their favorite festival.
Yes, I think, the people that come to Mountain Film are people that could live here at any time. They love climbing mountains, they love skiing mountains, they love fishing, they love being outside and experiencing everything that is nature.
And there's this whole aspect as well of mountains as a metaphor. So it doesn't just have to be climbing literal physical mountains. It's any kind of challenge that's out there that you want to take on that's represented by a mountain. And so a lot of the people that come to Mountain Film are talking about issues that have to do with social justice, with the environment, all these enormous challenges that we have that represent mountains to scale.
And that fits with the theme of Mountain Film every single year, transitioning through these inspiring tales that you're hearing and seeing for the first time.
And celebrating indomitable spirit.
Yes.
Right? So if you don't know Mountain Film very well, it's about a lot more than just films. Not that the films aren't fantastic, they are. But there's a lot of other things going on. Thinking of things like the coffee talks.
Yes, and booze and banters, which are actually taking a totally different form this year. We're focusing on music and a bit of comedy,
Nice.
which is going to be different.
Cool.
I think that's going to be
And there's a
pretty
reading
interesting.
frenzy, as Diva
Yes.
told us about.
Yes, and the ice cream social and the picnic also, which are some of my favorites, all surrounding food.
Yeah, well, the ice cream social is especially good if the weather's with us.
Yes.
But Main Street gets closed down, everybody convenes in the middle of town and gets free ice cream. What could be better than that?
Nothing.
Some of my favorite aspects, actually, of Mountain Film are being out in Town Park at what they call base camp.
Yes.
For films at night under the stars. It's a really rare treat.
Everyone's bundled in there.
Yeah,
sleeping
everybody's
bags.
bundled. It's
Yeah.
cold, but it's cozy. They usually have some great adrenaline films out in Town Park, and it's just this idea that you can do that. You know, you can do that in this mountain town surrounded by mountains, and there's a big screen and these fantastic, inspiring films. And then I also love Kids Kino, which takes place in the Palm every year, usually on Monday right before the picnic, and it's a selection of shorts that are called for the young and the young at heart.
Absolutely, I think that's one of my favorites as well.
So for now, let's go ahead and check out some more Minds of Mountain Film interviews from some years ago. And then we're also going to see a local film that was made back in my early days in Telluride in the early 90s. It's called French Fries to Go. And I remember the first time I saw it, I got really, really inspired because back in those days, people weren't making films about how to fuel your vehicle with vegetable oil. And so it was very novel and very cool, and I think you'll like it a lot. Stay tuned. Cool.
Mountain Film is really that endemic festival of Telluride. It really represents the culture and sort of the history, and you know, it just feels like it's Telluride more than any other festival.
Mountain Film is meaningful to me because it's just such a tribe of like-minded, like-hearted people. It's like I come here and then just have this affirmation that I'm not crazy and I don't feel alone. It's like this is my tribe, this is my peeps. I mean, it's just so good to be here and kind of rejuvenate and recharge.
We always cross paths at Mountain Film, which is like one of the best things about Mountain Film is crossing paths.
That's why we come, right? This is the tribe.
And it's the melange, it's the mixture, it's the good stew that you can have when you throw all these diverse interests and different geographies and different kinds of historical preparation together that can create the aroma and the takeaway experience that I think people find sustaining about Mountain Film and brings them back, if not every year, for the touch of a familiar community, but for the replenishment of ideas, to be provoked to do things.
A lot of people have a hunger to do something important and meaningful and to be challenged. And I think Mountain Film offers that in some of the best ways.
My name is Shane Davis. I'm the director of fractivist.org, and the Dear Governor Hickenlooper film is what brought me here. Dear Governor Hickenlooper film is a collaborative effort of numerous filmmakers from all over Colorado that have put together short films to make Dear Governor Hickenlooper, and these people are hikers, bikers, businessmen and women, farmers, ranchers, skiers, and hippies from the mountain. So it's this big collective consciousness that came together. Fractivist.org is sort of this collaboration of you know, being an advocate for the environment or an activist, but that against hydraulic fracturing, that very, very dangerous process. So yeah, the mission is to educate the public, create awareness, mobilize communities, and try to give them information, real information from the state, the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission's real data, so they can use this to protect themselves from the harmful emissions, the groundwater contaminations, soil contaminations, and the heavy traffic, and all the federal exemptions that the oil and gas industry has. So our mission is basically to educate, mobilize, and organize organizations against hydraulic fracturing. The biggest threats to our mission, I don't really know of any real vulnerabilities. I think that we always need more people to help us. Solidarity is one of our greatest weapons. We know that the oil and gas industry is spending millions and millions and millions of dollars against us to stop us. But right now we have 4 moratoria and 2 bans in Colorado, and we're going for a statewide ban on hydraulic fracturing. So I think our biggest deficit is probably funding. We always need funding. You know, we won all of those initiatives last year. We only spent $26,000 against the industry. They spent $1.3 million. So it's David and Goliath. David won. So anybody who wants to help us as far as volunteer or donations, we're more than happy to accept those. We are really, really going to show how the industry is slowly harming the environment and the people in these communities. Telluride is this incredible mecca of humanity. I've met some of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. I think that there's got to be like this invisible vortex that brings all these great people together. Mountainfilm, this is my first time. I hope it's not my last. I think that, again, you know, this is a platform for us to make great change to protect the environment and to help our friends. These people behind us right now, they're all here for one reason, because they love each other and they love the environment. So Mountainfilm has all of that, and I can't wait to come back.
My name's Lynx Vilden, and I was invited here to Mountainfilm this year for the 50th anniversary of Wilderness by Emily Long, who's the program director. And she came out and took a class with me last September, my basic skills class, and invited me to come here because she knew that I did a film with Erik a couple of years ago called Living Wild. And so we were invited to show the film here and to be a guest. If you looked at my website, the little short thing that it says is we aim to live in the wilderness, not just survive it to get back to civilization. And so that's really sort of the premise behind what I do. I've worked at survival schools and so on in the past, and with so many of these schools, the idea is you survive and then you come back to how you lived before. And I was always more interested in, well, what about the people who just lived in the wilderness, you know, our ancestors and the indigenous people of this land, and what if we don't want to come back from civilization? So that's sort of where it starts, like how can you live and be comfortable and at home in the wilderness? Now what? Yeah, that's a pretty big question. Things are changing in the world and on the earth so rapidly, and it is a good question because we got to do something. And I think one of the things that keeps coming up for me is that we've had a lot of talk, and there's been a lot of, well, you know, this is terrible and we have to do something about this, but how many of us are really willing to change our lifestyle in order for things to get better? And I think that perhaps that's part of it, you know. I think coming together in the smaller communities so that perhaps we don't have to travel such long distances, for example, because that's one of the things that is so destructive on the earth, is our incessant need and desire to travel all over the earth and burn a lot of fossil fuel. And so I can see maybe becoming a little bit more community-oriented and making decisions about how we travel and how we use resources that would be less, a little more sustainable. And in my own personal goal is that I want to be spending a year just on the land, in the Stone Age environment. You know, it's going to be a big thing for me to do that too. I'm a little bit scared to do it, but I think I'm ready after all these years of preparation. I'm ready to give it a shot. Oh, it's been actually a really amazing and very inspirational trip for me. I've met so many people, and I've just felt so much love emanating from everybody, and so much hope and desire to live in a better way and to share what people have learned. And it's almost impossible to express it in words, the feelings that I've had being here just in these few short days. But inspiration and joy, I think, probably two of the top 2 words I can think of.
I'm Elizabeth Streb, and I am an extreme action choreographer. And we have a film here by director Catherine Gund, and it's called Born to Fly. And it's a story of the kind of rabid infection of certain questions about extreme action that has been implanted on, at this point, about 60 dancers over the 30 years. And there are a singular 9 that are in this film, and it tells, I think, a majestic story about what happens when people, general people, anybody, but us in particular, try to reach their impossible dream and do things that humans aren't really supposed to do with their bodies physically in the air.
My name's Hope Clark. I danced with Elizabeth 91 to 99. Catherine, I saw she was, going to make this film and got very excited about it and had the opportunity to interview with her. And so I'm in the film.
My reputation, my actual reputation, is in the dance world, in New York City and beyond. And I've been analyzing the elitism of the arts. And I think my mission for the next 20 years is to take the extreme action we've invented and believe it has a populist audience and try and understand what the message of action might be to the general public and how they relate to sort of an anthropological, epigrammatic series of moves that have actually happened to them, whether they just sit at a desk or whether they labor for a living, whether or not they have had dreams of flight, because Streb is the dream and the inaction of flight. And I'm going to develop a vehicle or a vessel to take it across that great divide into the United States so that culture is not just for the extremely wealthy or informed, but it's for the every person. It's for the every person wandering along the road. Culture has to be for the every person for it to be magnified into something that has any relevance whatsoever. So even though you watch a film and we do wild and crazy things, and everyone has had the dream of flight. So I think that the connecting tissue has to do with that dream first, and then the rest of it is how it gets distributed. I think definitely the embrace of failure, because so many people, I've heard, and myself included, don't do things because they're afraid it won't work out, But of course, if you imagine your dream, once you meet your dream and actually accomplish it, won't look anything like it looked when you were dreaming it. If you have the sophistication and really the imagination and really the heart to go into that dream and let it morph the way it'll morph, then I think really the now what idea is that, let me keep going. There's really no arrival. Yes, I'm completely dwarfed by the town and the weather. And I came from New York yesterday, and I'm thinking with my friend Danita Geltner, and I'm thinking, it's snowing. What's going on here? And it's really, a whole kind of gentler universe, but with this rabid undercurrent, that you realize, there's other things to deal with. In New York, you've got the hustle bustle and the madness, and here it looks calm and placid from a distance, but really it's probably not in the end because of the geography here. And I think the festival, I would be able to stay here for a long time and learn so much that I wasn't able to access in New York or anywhere.
It smells like French fries.
No, Charles Ford is not a sane man. He's very, very functionally crazy.
My Vegemobile? Running on vegetable oil?
Shut up!
Swear to God.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know of anyone that is operating biodiesel in their diesel engines at this altitude, 10,000 feet. I think we're the highest biodiesel operators in the country.
Why did he do this?
I'm sure you've heard the Rudolph Diesel story, that he wanted farmers to be able to be self-sufficient and supply their own fuel.
He whipped off the sheet that was covering the engine and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and scientists, I have two words for you: peanut oil."
And the fact that those engines, as Charis has shown, can be modified to run on vegetable oil that's been used and that is just discarded and tossed away is a really great thing.
So what I'm doing here with this gas tank, or grease tank as the case may be, is I'm insulating it because it's so far from the engine cavity where things are typically warm that I want to kind of do everything I can to keep it nice and warm in the tank, make sure our fuel doesn't gel. Looks about right. If I didn't have any of this stuff installed in the summertime, I'd be fine, but in the wintertime, there's a likelihood that on sub-zero or near zero days, I wouldn't be able to start my engine because the fuel would be gelled in the line. The brain of this whole cold weather biodiesel operation is this little number here. It's an SPAR fuel-fired coolant heater.
Where did he get this stuff? Did he read about this in Popular Science?
Basically what happens is the SPAR pumps coolant through the whole system, circulating it a few hours before I start the engine. It warms the whole action up, and then when I get in the vehicle, it's not like a hard, cold start.
You pull up behind a McDonald's and fill her up?
What we do is we take vegetable oil from restaurants after they used it to fry food.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's recycled, and they pay us to take it. Yeah, they pay us to take it. You go to a restaurant and you say, hey, can I have your spent French fry grease?
It's all over the place.
It's all over the place, and they love giving it to you because right now
pay to get rid of it.
They do pay to get rid of it, and they pay us to take it because we have to process it still to make what this liquid here is, which is biodiesel.
So far, the biofuel processor on Hastings Mesa is a three-way partnership between Ken Hodges, Charis Ford, and myself.
When should we come back to get the next batch?
Probably a week from tomorrow. I'll have another 4 for you.
Great.
See you then.
I certainly think it's a step in the right direction, and we're utilizing resources that would otherwise be wasted.
Yeah, I did. I got 10 of them.
I've heard they've mixed up their first batch, and I'm ready to put it in our diesel crane and lift up some big beams and keep on building a better world.
We'll put it in our first storage tank, and it runs through a set of filters to this larger storage tank. Processing biodiesel takes quite a while, or at least it has in our initial batches, where we're just working through the system. It's actually taken a lot more time than I thought it would. Charis and I are both committed to the time that it takes to get this project rolling, work through the bugs, get a smooth system going, and hopefully go into a next stage of being able to provide more fuel for the area.
Are they doing this anywhere else on a larger scale? Is this mass hysteria?
So I think it's a crucial priority should be for our society to develop alternative sources of fuel. Whether that's going to be vegetable oil fuels or other things, I don't know, but I'm all for experimentation in all directions.
Oh my God, it's Mickey D's.
Mickey Diesel.
You can sell
It smells like French fry. That's awesome, man.
It's wild.
It is.
It smells like fries. It smells like fries.
They're not bad.
Not McDonald's.
That's awesome.
What does that stuff do to the environment? It smells like a big potato out here.
Charis is just on fire, you know. He's just got a fire burning within him that I don't know where it comes from, but you know, he wants to see a change, and so he's trying to do what he can to do it.
Right there, it's so tight under the heater block. I don't know that it's going to fit. We might have to take this out, or I guess we.
Charis really has a wonderful knack to get people motivated and inspired.
I love the idea of going to Denny's or Big Mac or Burger King and filling up my biodiesel truck and moving across the country. That's very exciting.
Good evening and welcome to Dog Talk.
3, 2, and 1.
My guest tonight, Charis Ford.
I'm here on Main Street with Charis. What's your last name?
Ford, Charis Ford.
Hi, this is Carl Foot. I'm with a group called the People for the Ethical Treatment of French Fries.
Oh my God.
Or PITF.
PITF?
My question for Charis is how many innocent French fries have to fry to make this fuel? We'll be monitoring your process and save the fries.
Okay, you got it. Save the fries.
We are in front of some kind of crazy, incredible new vehicle that runs on...
Gasoline is kind of a catch-all term that I use to describe green fuels. Gasoline means green. It means lean and clean. It means energy from water, solar, and soybeans. It means finding ways to keep the planet Earth pristine. And most of all, it's all about having an Earth-friendly machine. Boom, boom, bah.
I think a lot of the stuff about Charos being to Javier Cugat what Yoko Ono was to John Lennon is unfair.
People go fill up your tank with fuel made from corn, and when it's all used up, don't be too forlorn, because you can grow it again on the same piece of land. Never really done any rapping that wasn't connected to the environment. So for me, rap and environment are one. Now sifting through the serious stuff is kind of a chore. That's why I move along with rhythm, humor, and candor.
Rap is kind of the people's, it's the people's stuff. So if the subject matter could change in a green direction, I think that'd be good.
We could get driven to extinction just for spinning our wheels up and offing ourselves with our own automobiles. Like them dinosaurs that died out, that technology's old. And while they profit from pollution, we been getting sold. Multinational corporations lobby for their greed, and they can grease the pumps of politicians at light speed. But think fast, that's just big brother and big business blowing smoke up your ass, brainwashing us to believe the drama, bloodshed, and greed that we keep on creating in the Middle East is completely removed. Oh yeah, it has nothing to do with our out-and-out addiction to the flammable goo. Oil, that is. Well, nice try. I hear it chirping, but it just don't fly. Check these out.
His first move was to plan all of the PR.
Sweet. Oh, I love it. Corn, it's a grass. I like it.
Isn't that cool? That's silly.
Like, that's the first thing you do. Before you make the fuel, before you figure out how to do it, before you build anything.
This is kind of a building sign that might go on the gasoline station one day.
Really nice.
This is what I really like.
The future needs you. I'm telling you what, this is the best one. I love it.
I actually have trademarked this expression. The future needs you. Get there.
You and your trademarks. I think you're pretty funny. For the last 8 years, we've had a propane generator that has provided us with about 5% of our power needs. So now we can replace that fossil fuel use with biodiesel. Biodiesel is not the answer to all of our energy problems, but here at Steep Rock it might be the answer to getting that last 5% of our power needs.
I think he's brilliant. He's visionary.
Is this your French fry grease?
This is actually a urine sample, and it took me a long time to get all this urine.
Is he saving money?
Bush beer, most of it's bush beer, really. No, this is.
It's so clear. Well, you know what?
This is vegetable oil fuel, and I'm running my truck on it.
It's been amazing to see him pull it off.
Not that many people actually follow through with, their beliefs. I mean, Charis just was like, that's it, I'm just gonna do it and show people that it can be done, and he's doing it.
But what really excites me is the cleaner technologies that we don't even know about yet that are coming down the pike.
Charis is retro, but he's futuro also.
I'm very happy to know that Charis is out there driving around in his Vegemobile.
What? That was backwards.
So, Charis, this is where we keep our grease. What exactly do you want to do with it?
This is what we do. It's called
If you could make a car run on anything, what would you want to see a car run on?
Maybe cold fusion. Or maybe a small nuclear reactor. You know, to accelerate, you simply pull out the cadmium rods.
You know my name is Charles, but I think it's time I told you I'm also known as the granola Ayatollah of canola.
Very, very cool.
What do you think?
Vintage
You got a big
mountain
weenie there, buddy.
Here.
Almost live is
Almost over. But never fear, if you miss any part of the show, you can catch us morning, noon, or night on channel
What do you like most about Charas?
Channel 12,
His wife.
Bye everyone, hope you have a great mountain film and we'll see you after the festival.
Where is Dulcie?
So, very, very cool vintage mountain film there. Lindsay.
Peter.
Almost live is
Almost over. But never fear, if you missed any part of the show, you can catch us morning, noon, or night on channel 1304 in Telluride, channel 12 in Mountain Village, or find us on YouTube or Facebook anytime at Telluride TV.
Bye everyone, hope you have a great mountain film and we'll see you after the festival.
We'll see you later.